Welcome to Let's Thrive Postpartum.
Hi, and welcome back to Let's Thrive Postpartum. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Ashley.
And today, Ashley and I want to have a fun, frank conversation about a topic so many of us postpartum moms think about. Maybe we don't talk about it all the time, but it's a lot of times it's in the back of our mind, body image. And what does that mean? And what does that look like from our expectations? Do we have societal expectations? All the things about what happens to you physically and the mental association with it after having a childbirth. Ashley,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Ugh, there's so much there. And I mean,
So much.
body image, I guess, first of all, just kind of thinking about like what that means
Yes.
is how we view ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Not what other people are saying about us, not, it's how we view ourselves. And a lot of times with moms, myself included, they have a very negative body image after giving birth, especially if it's something I think women in general struggle with, like for a lot of our lives. And I do think it's harder if you've had body image kind of like concerns and a hard time viewing yourself positively even before having a baby. It can be even worse like after you've had a baby. Kelly, you mentioned that you found a study that
Did
had
a
some information
Yeah.
about connecting like body image and postpartum depression.
Yeah, because as we're talking about this, right, what does body image mean for moms that are struggling, postpartum depression, anxiety? Well, there was a great study, and I'm not going to give the title to the end because it gives it away, but published on the NIH that looked at body satisfaction correlated to postpartum depression. And what they found were that women who were more dissatisfied with their body image were more frequently depressed. And so the name of the research study, so you can go look at it, is called Body Image Dissatisfaction as a Risk Factor for Postpartum Depression. So they
Yeah.
literally went and said, if you feel this way, it puts you at a slighter risk for having postpartum depression. And that's one of the reasons Ashley and I want to talk about it. Because, Ashley, there has to be things you can do to figure out, are you currently satisfied? And what can you change about your body image perception that will make you less likely to be depressed and bring it back to feeling better mentally?
So I think oh yeah, what was that, Kelly?
Go
Oh.
ahead.
I think when we're thinking about evaluating where we currently feel about ourselves, a lot of us are really good at that, right? Like just how do you feel in your body? What's the first thought that comes to when you're looking in the mirror, when you're putting on clothes and that kind of thing? Is it normally for most people it's either positive or negative. Something, Kelly, we've talked about and a lot of people talk about is about practicing this more kind of neutral thinking, kind of a version of acceptance with where things are and how they are. But when we're talking about a lot of mental health concerns and mindset and body image, really a lot of it is mindset. Is there's things we can change about ourselves, the way that we're viewing things, and there's things we can change about our environments. And one of the biggest ones, no surprise to anyone, is going to be social media and what you're consuming and how is it or not influencing a positive or negative image of yourself. Because we spend a lot of time on various social media sites. And a lot of it, when you've been, when the algorithm knows that you've had a baby, I promise. The algorithm knows that you've been searching baby products and postpartum things and all the baby stuff. And I can guarantee you that a lot of things that are going to start popping up are getting back, losing the baby weight, getting back to your old body. What was your experience like that, Kelly? Like, did you see that kind of stuff like after?
Did, and you're right. It just kind of the algorithm knows you've now had a child, change what it's sharing to you in some ways. And what I found is when I started struggling and knew I needed help for postpartum depression and anxiety, I couldn't find it. I went on every social media account looking for stuff. All I could find was how to get skinny again. how to lose that baby weight, how to do this. And I was getting so frustrated because you are inundated as a mom. Every one of you know that is everywhere. Your body is celebrated so much while you're pregnant, and it's such a joyful thing, and people are so happy for you. But then you're kind of expected to be, Kate Middleton on the steps in heels and a dress, skinny the minute you walk out of having a child. And if that's not your experience of bouncing back right away, there's a lot of push on in the culture to feel like you are back to where you were. And so
Yeah.
that comes back to just one other research thing that I found, because I feel like it's great to talk about, but I love having something that says they've done statistics around this. There's a study from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences where they looked at 132 postpartum moms who had babies under the age of 6 months old. So these are young moms, and they found that mothers developed poor attitudes about eating, became more dissatisfaction with their own body by looking at fit inspiration images on social media. And it wasn't just instant. They learned that these negative impacts on their body image lasted for months. So as you're
Yeah.
scrolling through social media and you're seeing all these, oh, look, my baby's 3 weeks old or 5 months old or whatever it is, this is my inspiration. It was bringing mothers down in their own body image. And we just talked about the list, more dissatisfied you are with your body image, the more likely you are to be a risk factor to postpartum depression.
Yep.
It's kind of a vicious cycle. And
Yeah.
I think it's just something great to be aware of, that social media, actually, we talk about, is so great for so many things. It's a way to connect with other moms, not be alone in a certain space, but there's also parts of it that can be a little bit not great for your mental health if you're
Yeah.
already kind of going through body
Yeah.
issues and thoughts. It
Yep.
just throws gasoline on fire.
Yeah, it does. And a lot of what we see on social media, like it's not really in our direct control. Like, yes, we can control whether we're picking up our phones or not. But with the way things work now, like, no, we're not specifically like clicking and looking on every single thing. There's just stuff that gets to be part of the feed that if we're aware of ourselves enough, we can start to say, is this helping or is this harming? That's with anything, right? In your life during this postpartum phase, like, is this helping or is this harming? What I'm looking at, what I'm reading, the people I'm talking to, the way I'm thinking about myself, the way I'm interacting with, other people, all these mom forums that are out there. Is it helping or is it harming? And a lot of times it's pretty clear. Like you can say, yeah, no, I didn't feel good after I did that. Right. And it's like, okay, well then let's think about what we can do. That's kind of how we can change our environments. Can you change and make some adjustments to your environment so that as much of the things that you're consuming and interacting with are supportive and helpful, friends that make us feel good, family members that make us feel good. When it comes, I think, to ourselves, it is really hard because again, we're talking about mindset, and it's like you've got to challenge some of these negative thoughts, practice acceptance, practice this more neutral thinking, celebrating. Yeah.
Can we stop and do some of that? Can we put that
Yeah.
into, because
Yeah. Yep.
I think when I was researching this for the podcast, the thinking about stuff in a neutral way was very interesting to me. That makes sense, but I needed to see it and kind of see what that actually meant. So, Ashley, can we maybe go through kind of a changing your thing? So, if I look at, a woman, if you're looking down at your belly and you're like, my belly suddenly is now flabby, right? It was 12 inches bigger when I was pregnant, and now suddenly it's just there.
Yeah.
What do I do with body neutrality? Walk me through what that means in practice.
So a lot of it is, I think the easy way that I think about it is like cut to the facts, right? Like, let's not bring opinions into it. So if you're looking down and your stomach is not what it used to look like,
That's a
you could say to
C-section scar.
yourself, right? Let's say you look down and yes, you see your C-section scar. The thought that might come into your head of, if it's an opinion of, oh, this doesn't look good. I'm never going to look the same. I'm not going to have, my body's never going to be
I'm
the same.
worthless because of this. Those
Right.
opinions. Yes.
Right. The facts though are, I have this scar because this is how my baby was brought into the world. Right. I have this scar because this is what was necessary for me to give birth. I have this scar because I had something called a C-section, right? Like we're bringing ourselves, and this is the kind of thing that works with all kinds of anxieties and overthinking. You're focusing on the facts and bringing yourself from being overwhelmed and, overstimulated and out in that world and of negative thought. You're bringing yourself just like back down to earth. Some people might call it a reality check, but it's focusing on the facts of why are things the way they are, right? My pants don't fit me anymore because I was just pregnant a few weeks ago and I just gave birth, and it is not possible that my body is the same size it was. It's not possible.
And I like that because I don't know what this says about the culture I grew up in the South, but instead of saying, "Oh, my body is bad," or "My body is good," right? Like looking down and saying, "Oh, I don't like this." Having that neutral frame was a good in between step that I didn't know was a step. Instead of saying, "Oh, my body's bad," or "Oh, look, I think I look great." Saying back just the statement piece was something I just never had in my toolkit to say, "This is what
No.
happened. I had a baby. I am this way at this moment."
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is not good, not bad, not less or not more, just this is what it is. So
Yeah.
I think
This
that's
is
something
what
if
it is.
you're hearing yourself in your mind saying, "Oh, I don't like this," or "This isn't good," or any of the emotions Ashley mentioned, how do you just say it as a statement? And I'm focusing on the statements at the moment versus the
Yeah.
positive or the negatives.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
Try
that.
not to be overly positive, right? Because there's also a thing like toxic positivity. If you're like, I'm amazing and da da da, but if you don't fully believe it, then that's also causing harm because you're you're trying to you're basically gaslighting yourself, right? Like you're saying something that you don't really believe, and that causes harm. So in some ways, similarly to like the negative thinking does. And so when you're kind of focusing on the facts, focusing on like what's actually happening and saying things as statements, it takes us out of that good or bad space and just says, this is how it is, right? Like, this is the reality of how it is. I just gave birth. It's not possible that things are going to fit the same way. I need to go a step further. Like, it's okay. It's okay that I feel this way,
I was about to
right?
ask about that. Yeah, so we're talking a lot about the body neutrality. We hear a lot about positive body affirmations. How do
hmm
those go with neutrality? Do we do those in
I
addition to that, or are they kind of what we're saying don't do?
Well, I think when you're thinking about a lot of positive, like body affirmations, it's not based on how your body looks.
Okay.
It's more appreciating your body for what it's done, right? Like the function. Having a baby is the most intense thing that the human body can do. Like you literally grew a human.
Yeah.
Let's not make that a minimal thing. Like your body grew an entire person.
And it took a long time. It did not
Yes.
happen over 2 weeks, right? I mean, that took 40 weeks
Yes.
plus to grow that human. So it's gonna take
Yes.
the same part out to come back out.
Yes. At least that. And a lot of times even more for women. And yeah, no, but me
I raised
too.
my hand if you can't see me on there. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, that's me." Took me way
Yeah.
longer. Still working on it.
No, no, and I'm in the same boat. But I think like body affirmations again, like it's not saying I look great or like something like that. It's focusing on appreciating your body for what it's done, being like, it is amazing that my body was able to grow a human, right? Like, it is amazing that, you know, this is the way that, however you've given birth, right? It is amazing that this is how my body responded when, after I gave birth, that when I'm holding my baby. If you're breastfeeding, just thinking about like how does this whole process work? And thinking about all these things that your body is doing on its own and just having some appreciation and respect for it. It deserves some respect. I mean,
And a lot of appreciation because it has done amazing things.
yeah, we're not machines. Like, I mean, having some people will talk about how it can be traumatic just being pregnant and having a baby because of the stress that it puts on your body and the intense changes that our body goes through. So I really don't think it can be understated that the female body during this time is doing some really amazing things that can only be done when it's you,
Yes,
you
and
know?
there's sources that say it may take 2 years for your hormones and body to bounce back to that regular time and you to
Yeah.
kind of recover physically. It's that very long process. So
Yeah.
having grace with yourself and saying, I can be neutral, I can be very positive about what I've done, can
Mhm.
really help your mental state if you're
Yeah.
struggling to not go over the edge if you're close to, if you're already in the struggle zone or
Yeah.
just not feeling great, removing that extra stress that you could put on yourself.
Yeah. And it's not always, having positive body image doesn't necessarily mean that you think you look amazing all the time, right? A lot of times, positive body image, I'm thinking when, like, I'll talk with teenagers and, same, lots of similarities sometimes with the frustrations with social media and teenagers and postpartum moms. We're in these vulnerable states, right, at these times in our lives. But like positive body image again is just being appreciative of your body, taking care of your body, right? Like knowing if you want to work out, work out. If you want to eat a certain way, eat it a certain way. Like, but you're able to say, this is what feels good for me, and I'm doing it. I'm able to do it and support the body that I want to have because all bodies are so different. There's no one right way.
And having that time, if you're able to get time to yourself or to go move and do some exercise or to go push your child in a stroller, all helps your body, your baby's circadian rhythms, your ability to sleep better at night, some of that self-care if you have the ability to get it in, but also the forgiveness to yourself if you don't have time to get it in, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's just kind of saying, here's where I'm at. What's going to be the best for me today?
Yeah. And one of the biggest things for me, I think, postpartum, like after my second child, I finally started looking at certain exercises and like, workout classes or whatever. I stopped associating it with exercise for the purpose of being in shape. And I started looking at it as like, I'm going to do whatever it is, yoga, Pilates. I don't run. It's just not my thing. But I'm going to do it because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I have more energy. It makes me more regulated. I'm able to respond more calmly around my kids. And yes, of course, everyone knows the added benefit of exercising typically is that your body changes, but that no longer was my goal. Whereas before, that was my goal. My only reason for working out was to like, I need to stay in shape. Now it's, I need to work out to just feel my best. And I also do lots of other things to feel my best, but one of them like happens to be certain kinds of movement. So it's also just that little mindset shift of like, if you're going to move your body and intentionally do it, like make it enjoyable and make sure you're associating it with something other than like losing weight or staying in shape because movement is so much more than that. I mean, that's why it's helpful for everything when it comes to mental health.
It really is. Just getting that and the endorphins going helps your mental health so much, especially if you can do it outside and fresh air, get
Mhm.
vitamin D while you're doing it, that extra added benefit. There
Yeah.
is so much, but I'm with you. It is how do you do it in a way that it's helping you for you
Yeah.
versus I still haven't dropped 20 pounds of baby weight. What am I going to do right now? Right? How do you
Yeah.
take shame and guilt and expectation off of yourself to say, this is going to make me feel better? I'm doing this for me right now.
Yeah.
And life is always going to change. That will eventually happen if you keep trying. Right
Yeah.
now, about how do I keep myself mentally feeling great and the
Yeah.
best I can be.
And it might be different too. I mean, the way that you work out before you have a baby, you may not find that you're able to do those kinds of exercises again, or you may not be able to for a really long time. I know a lot of women struggle. Kelly, you've talked about like being a runner, talked with moms who did all kinds of other types of exercises, but for whatever reason, like after having a baby, they were like, My body physically can't do some of these hit workouts anymore or like some of these class like I just feel like I can't do it and it's okay that we might have to adjust and try something that's like different for a while.
Great. So if you're cool with this, let's recap of a couple things because I think Ashley and I went through a bunch of things right
Oh,
there. We talked a lot. We talked kind of fast on both of this, but I want it to just be something that if you find this episode and you're listening, you could always come back to. But we talked really quickly about the correlation that body dissatisfaction can increase your risk for postpartum depression. And also social media, looking at a lot of inspirational fit videos and content, those first couple months can also really lead you down the road of dissatisfaction. So
Mhm.
Ashley and I talked about a couple of things you can start doing, focusing on negative perceptions versus saying this is good or bad. This is just kind of that body neutrality of where I am right now. And I'm going to say this as a statement. My body made a baby, not my stomach needs to be skinnier. I'm worth this or whatever. And then also using positive affirmations of all the amazing things that your body has done so that you are still celebrating everything that you've done where you are. And then if you can and you're interested, doing things that support your body, eating healthy, moving in ways that feel good for you, and kind of just supporting that this is where you are. How do you make yourself feel the best? And
Yeah.
movement is one of those really good ways to support that, but also your mental health.
Yeah. Yep.
Ashley, what else? I mean, I feel like this could be an entire podcast
Oh,
season
yeah.
itself. Is
Easy.
just how do we
Easy.
meet ourselves
Yeah.
afterwards?
And I think I like, just to like make it simple for people is like focus on like facts and function, right?
Okay.
The facts of what those statements, the facts of what your body has done, the facts of why there's a scar there, of why your stomach is bigger, of why it's harder to work out, right? The facts are I had a baby, I had a C-section, my body did this. And then the functioning, those positive affirmations, isn't it amazing my body was able to do this? Can you believe that my stomach was able to stretch to be, X number times size larger than it used to be? Can you believe that this baby was able to come out of me in this way? Like facts and function take us from these like opinion based, negative thoughts and bring us back down to reality. And when you look at the reality of it, I mean, it's just amazing.
The stuff that our bodies can do, and as women, we have created with ourselves is just, yeah, there's no other word for it. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Yep. So good job,
Mom,
mama.
yes, great job. You are doing so great wherever you are at in this postpartum journey. You are doing amazing. We want this to be one other little tool in your toolbox when you're thinking about what makes you mentally feel better, and giving yourself that grace and positive body association is key because you are amazing.
Yep.
And with that, we'll see you next week.
See you next time.
If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please be sure to hit subscribe, leave us your feedback, and give us a 5-star review. For even more support, visit us at wethrivepostpartum.com/podcast to sign up for our newsletter and learn more about our community. Remember, you are not alone. With support, you can feel better. Together, let's thrive postpartum.